Hello, do you know the best sizes pre-flop, be it for open raise, 3-bet or 4-bet? In the first session with new students, I see that many don't, and especially I see that they don't give it enough of a thought. They don't know why a sizing is better than the other. So in this video, I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to answer the question I asked you on the Instagram. This is my Instagram. For those of you who don't know, have a look at the posts. And here are the questions I asked them. Most knew that you open larger on the button than hijack or under the gun, but where should you 3-bet smallest? Big blind versus small blind, button versus cutoff, or hijack versus under the gun? 50% got it wrong. And finally, this one 80% got wrong. Where should you 4-bet largest? Under the gun v hijack, cutoff versus button, or small blind versus big blind? Two answers are defensible, even though I prefer one, but too many even said small blind v big blind. Let's see why. In this video, as said, I'll answer all of those questions and explain all about the sizings. Please keep in mind that we are looking at GTO Wizard, so we are opening the game theory optimal sizes and playing against GTO opponents. The optimal sizes change when we are in different environments, so when we play live poker or very soft sizes, a larger size is sustainable, but here at GTO Wizard and in tough games, the best sizing is 2x, because there are 3 people left to act in position, and when they 3-bet, we want to lose as little as possible. Don't be too strict about it. You don't need to go 2x exactly, 2.1, 2.2, all are fine. On the hijack it's similar, 2 persons left to act, so keep it small, up to 2.2, okay? But GTO says 2x. On the cutoff, since there's only 1 person left to act, they already start increasing. GTO Wizard uses 2.3x. Anywhere between 2.1 and 2.5x, in my opinion, is okay in your games. On the button, there was 1 person left to act in position, of course. On the button now, no one left to act in position, so we can increase our sizing. GTO says 2.5x, but it is sustainable to go a bit larger as well, depending on your table. On the small blind, in my opinion, we have the most interesting situation, because everyone almost opens 3x. GTO Wizard is saying 3x, but there have been a couple of sims who said that the optimal sizing, out of position, remember you need to go larger, is even 3.5x or larger. On the other hand, we can sustain that big blind in our games tend to overfold, and when they overfold, we can open smaller. So to be honest, anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5x is fine. GTO Wizard uses 3x. In my personal training, I will tell you which sizing I prefer for your game style. And now let's analyze 3-betting in position. Usually, as a general rule, you will go anywhere between 3 and 3.5x. So here we are on the hijack against under the gun. GTO Wizard recommends 6.5. You should do the same. So 2, 4, 6 is 3x. Anywhere between 6 and 7, 3 and 3.5x is fine. Let's see different but similar positions. Here on the cutoff against under the gun, same thing. Anywhere between 6 or 7 is fine. On the cutoff versus hijack, again, if he goes 2.5, you could go between 7.5 and 8. If he goes 2.3, you go around 7. However, now on the button, things get more interesting. Let's have a look at GTO Wizard. 7.5x is their preferred 3-bet sizing, so a lot over 3x against the 2x open from under gun. The reason behind it is that our range is different. On the button, we are allowed to have a cold calling range. So we 3-bet the very best of our hands always, and the other hands we kind of split between call and 3-bet. Let's have a look at the range here. As you can see, there's a lot of green for cold call and red for 3-betting. So the 3-bets are the top of the range, aces and kings, and those with good blockers. So king, queen off, and also the suited aces and ace jack off. On the other hand, the medium hands call. As you can see, the overall range is almost as much call as the 3-bet. But of course, you consider that in GTO Wizard, the opponent opens 2x. If he opens larger, then you would cold call a bit less. So looking back at the size, we can say that we 3-bet large on the button because we have the very top of our range and some hands with good blockers, like ace jack off or suited aces. And we can see against the cutoff here, it's the same, 7.5 instead of 7. But there was a little bit of a conflicting rule, same here on the big blind against the small blind, even though our range is, as explained, containing very strong hands and some weaker hands. Because they open a bit larger, on cutoff larger than under the gun, and here our opponents on small blind opens 3x, we tend to stick closer to 3x than 4x. So with this sort of range, if they open 2x, we need to go minimum 7 in these positions. But here Against 3x, 10 big blinds is enough. Go above 9. Do 10 minimum, I recommend, but no need to go too large as they increase their size. Now let's have a look at 3-betting out of position. So when the general rule in position was to go between 3 and 3.5x, so if they open 2, we go 6.5 or 7. If they open 2.5, we go 7.5 or 8. If they go 3, we go 9 or 10. Out of position on the small blind, we should go over 4x, and on the big blind, it's usually over 5x. Here we are seeing the small blind against the button only, because GTO Wizard has different sizes on under the gun and hijack, and that'd be too in depth now, but you see they go 12x against 2.5, which is fine, but if you want to go 11, it's fine. Anywhere between 11 or 12 against 2.5x. Against 2, you could go around 9.5, 10. Okay? And now you see the range on the bottom. The small blind is very linear, but the big blind, as you can see here, the greens obviously has a calling range. This means that the 3-betting range will be polar, with here the offsuit aces, many offsuit kings. So the reason for this is you want to go as large as possible with this polarized range and the top of your range, with hands that block the opponent's 4-bet range. GTO Wizard here goes 13 big blinds against 2.5 opens. What I didn't see in small blind, if they open 3x, then we don't need to go proportionally too much larger. So just go 14 on the big blind and 13 on the small blinds against 3x. And now finally, let's have a look at 4-bets. The general rule here will be 3x out of position and 2x in position, but there'll be a couple of exceptions, as we will see here and as you saw in my questions on Instagram. First, we'll see here the standard. Under the gun v hijack, we go to 19 when he goes 6.5, so that's about 3x. And against all of these early positions will be similar, because early positions have linear ranges. When they have linear range, we go 3x. I'll tell you this before. So cutoff also, we go 18 here. It's almost 3x, not much is changing, no point in going too deep into that. Hijack against cutoff 4-betting, almost 3x, 19 against 6.5. But now let's have a look at the difference on the button. Remember the range I said they have on the 3-bet. They will have the very top of the range, and they will have some blocking 3-bets, like the suited aces, they show 3-bet quite a lot, and some offsuit hands like ace, jack, queen, king. But the truth is that our opponent in real life have a slightly different range. Maybe they're 3-betting too many of the suited connectors, not having a calling range at all. So in real life, I don't mind you following GTO Wizard's recommendation here of going almost 3x. But against some opponents, you will have to go smaller as the ideal strategy. But if you aren't sure about your opponent, it's not bad to go 3x on the cutoff against button either. But situation is different on big blind against small blind. They 3-bet with a very, very polar range. So we need to go small. 2x, a little bit above. If that's too small for you, you go 22, 23 against 10x. All is fine, because look at the range. They're supposed to fold all of their bluff 3-bets that are offsuited ace, offsuited kings, and even some of the trashy suited hands. And the small size has the benefit that they are supposed to even continue quite a lot with 9-7 suited, ace-6 suited, 7-5 suited, those hands. And if your opponent doesn't know and you have a correct 4-betting range, you are printing money against him. It is true that some opponents won't have this polarized 3-betting strategy on the big blind, but still, don't go too large on the small blind against big blind when 4-betting. And now let's have a look at 4-betting in position. I said the general rule is 2x, but the exceptions are always the same logic. We are against small blind, does small blind have a polar or a linear range? The truth is a linear range, so we go a little bit above 2x. We see here 25 against 11.5, but as we are in position, we don't go too large, obviously. And in real life, our opponents here, they are supposed to call against some 4-bets. They don't like this, so it is even okay to go the 2x sizing, because you put them in the tough spots when they have to call the 4-bets. Out of position, sorry about that, I was supposed to also show you versus the big blind. Anticipating here, the big blind has the more polar range, so against them we don't go much above 2x in no hypothesis. Here GTO Wizard is going 28 instead of 20 27. I admit I'm not exactly sure why. I think 27 is GTO here. And if you know your opponent does have enough of those trashy 3-bets on the big blind, which you should, you could even go a bit below. You could go 26. So anyway, just go 2x in position for 4-bet against big blind, against small blind, add 1 big blind or something, and you'll be fine. And now let's have a look at the quiz from the beginning of the video. Button opens larger than earlier position because it won't phase a 3-bet out of position. The smallest 3-bet is hijack against under the gun because you are very linear. You're only 3-betting the very top of your range, whereas on big blind you have trashy 3-bets, and on the button you have a calling range, and therefore you can go a little bit bigger on your 3-bets. Here the largest 4-bet is under the gun against hijack because hijack is very linear in their 3-betting range, but as mentioned before, if you want to go large on cutoff against button, it's fine too, but don't on small blind v big blind. Sorry, that was by accident, but I make some Ask Me Anythings on Instagram here. You can see a couple of my answers if you don't follow me on Instagram. Anyway, that's it about this video. I didn't mention isolation bets because usually limpers are recreational players. Against them, there's no real need to get too strict about sizings. You can go as big as possible, especially out of position. I also only focus on 100 big blind size, as it would have been too long had I also talked about 50 big blinds and 200 big blind sizes stacks. The sizes change with those stacks, so if you'd like to see a new video about this or any feedback, really, please comment or send me a message. My email, Discord and Instagram are here in the YouTube description, as well as the GTO Wizard link for 10% off your first purchase. Hope you subscribe and see you in the next one.